Hi everyone, welcome to another episode, a wonderful episode of Words, Images, and Worlds. Always delighted to have return guests. I was delighted the first time to talk with author Dan Jolley, and delighted yet again to be entering. Your website says the Jollyverse, so can I say that? Is that
Sure.
trademark? Great,
Uh,
great.
you can say it as often as you want to.
Sounds great. Sounds great. Now, before we dive into any questions or anything, you have a look-alike contest that you shared
Y-
with me.
yes, yes, it is not a Dan Jolly lookalike contest. Thank goodness.
Okay, all right, all right. We do have very similar facial hair. I will say that. We have a little bit of that going on.
Um, the third book in my fantasy mystery series is debuting at Dragon Con this year. That's
Hmm.
over Labor Day weekend. And in honor of that, I'm having a lookalike contest for Niska Stonegate, who is the protagonist of the series. She's a non-human lady. She's 6'3" and has yellow eyes and purple skin and horns.
I'm
And
there. I'm there. I'm basically just makeup marker two away. Yeah.
any and all adults are welcome to enter. All you have to do is show up at Dragon Con as Niska, find me at my table in Artist's Alley, and I will take a photo. Or if I'm not there, my older brother, who helps me run the table, will take a photo. The cutoff is 6 p.m. Sunday night. The winner will be announced Monday afternoon. First prize is $500.
Nice. Not bad.
Second place is 300, and third place is 100, I believe. Yeah, that
Nice.
sounds right.
Very creative and innovative. I love it.
So I'm hoping to see just tons of Niskas running all over the and it doesn't have to, like, you can bring your own interpretation to the character,
Hmm. Hmm.
as long as the horns, the purple skin, and the yellow eyes are there, and a healthy dose of attitude. You can go to my website, to danjolly.com/ lookalike dash contest.
Hmm. Hmm. Cool.
And that explains the rules, explains about her, gives you links to the books. You can read the first chapters of all three for free. So
Nice.
we'll see what happens.
I will share it today. I will absolutely share it today. And as we're talking about it, I'll also put something up in the video so that people can see it.
Great.
All right. Well, that is very inventive, and you're quite a prolific person. Just looking at your work, you write sort of fantasy, science fiction for older readers. You've done a variety of books and book series for younger readers. You've written in the Warhammer IP. You've
Hmm.
or Warcraft. I'm sorry.
Yeah, World of Warcraft. Yeah,
World of Warcraft, sorry. And you've written comics, comics adaptations, video games, just a range of things. I think a little while ago you were posting on social media kind of a daily word count challenge, if I'm remembering that correctly as well.
yeah. I was working on book three of
Hmm. Hmm.
the series. The fantasy series is called the Demon Sleuth Scrolls.
Yes,
Um,
yes. Uh-huh.
and book three. Uh, Last year, I had a job. I had a job as lead writer on a video game project that
Hmm.
I can't say anything about. And that kind of it took up most of the year. It ate most of my creative juices. So by the end of the year, I had a the second volume in a 160-page graphic novel series that I'm working on due. And I had book three due. And so I
Wow.
did the graphic novel in September and October, and I did book three, which is called The Rune Bearer Curse,
Hmm. Hmm.
in November and December. I wrote 100,000 word novel in 2 months,
Wow.
and that's not a pace that I want to keep up.
No, that's quite a journey. Any
I,
secrets, any special beverages or concoctions or anything like that that helps?
the same thing motivated me for that has motivated me for most of my career, which
Hmm.
is the deadline, which
Yeah.
is the knowledge that it has to get done. And so that actually fits hand in hand with I think I shared this advice last time. Don't ever go back and read what you've written until you've written the whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I just plowed through that manuscript. I would take one day off each week for mental health, for mental health purposes. And I'd range anywhere from 1,500 words on I'm making air quotes, bad day,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
to up to about 4,500 usually on what I would consider a good day.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
And got it done. It came in right at 100,000 words. All my original novels, that's the sweet spot for me. I don't know how to write one of these Stephen King doorstops.
Yeah.
It all comes out to about 350 pages.
That's funny you mentioned Stephen King as you're talking about that daily word count. I'm just thinking, what must his be? It's just incredible. But yeah, yeah.
He has said that he never writes fewer than 6 pages in a day,
Wow. Yeah.
and like really 1,000 words a day will get you there. 1,000 words a day, that's about 4 pages, really,
Hmm.
in a
Hmm.
standard manuscript. But if you write 1,000 words a day, at the end of a year, you've got War and Peace.
Yeah. Yeah.
So 1,000 words a day in 3 months, you've got one of my novels.
True enough. There it is. Was the social media post strategy, was that helpful in sort of motivating you forward too?
It didn't hurt. It
It
didn't
was
hurt.
fun to
Yeah,
watch. It was definitely fun to watch. More fun
I'm
than a lot of things on social media.
I'm so bad at social media. I'm just so bad. And anything I can do to like shame myself into doing it,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll go ahead and do it. I finally found a format that let me do a newsletter on a fairly regular basis, but even then I'm lagging. It's kind
Mm,
of turning into a quarterly newsletter at this point.
yeah. Yeah. Well, you're a busy person. Um, I think I might have asked a question somewhat similar to this the last time, but just thinking about your creative approach, what's it like to sort of pivot from project to project? And are you a multiple project at one time kind of writer?
I have to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have to be. It okay. Freelancing I mean, it's owning your own business essentially. You are a small business owner if you're a freelancer.
Hmm. Hmm.
And every small business owner I've ever talked to, it always kind of astonishes me the similarities between like owning your own plant nursery and being a freelance writer.
Yeah.
And business comes and goes. It's a roller coaster. It tends to be really feast or famine.
Hmm. Hmm.
And like when I accepted my first full-time video game writing job, I had been working mainly for DC Comics, mainly just doing comics, and work had slowed down enough that the bank account was feeling it,
Hmm.
and I got this job offer to go and work on an MMO, a game kind of like World of Warcraft. It
Yeah.
wasn't
Hmm.
World of Warcraft. Um, so I took it, and my editor at DC, one of my editors, Ivan Cohen, he said, "You realize, Dan, now now that you have a full time job, you're going to get covered up with freelance comic work."
Right.
And he was correct. So for the 2.5 years that I worked at Icarus Studios, working on the game was called Fallen Earth, and for those 2.5 years, I would work all day at the studio and then come home and write comic projects until 1 or 2, and
Wow.
that's not something I could do. I'm too old for that now.
There are those advantages to youth. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, to try to answer your actual question, yeah, I always have more than one iron in the fire, so to speak, because you just have to.
Yeah.
It's like against the freelancer's religion to say no
Hmm.
to
Hmm.
work. And pivoting from it's usually not very hard to pivot from something aimed at people my age and people who are like your students' age.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah.
Every once in a while, the overlap it doesn't manifest itself on the page. It's just I have to kind of fight back tendencies. There was one point at which I was writing a game called Prototype 2,
Mhm.
which is squarely rated R.
Yeah, yeah.
It's filled with extreme violence and gore, and they told me not to worry about language at all. Just the main character is a Marine,
Hmm. Hmm.
and there were a lot of military characters, and the air would just turn blue when these people would talk. At the
Right.
same time, I was writing Transformers: Fall of Cybertron,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
like that was all dialogue. Like everything I did on that game and the one before it, like all the Transformers stuff that I've done is basically just been I do all the dialogue. And there were a couple of times when I had to catch myself. Um, Optimus Prime wouldn't actually say that, Dan.
Right, right. I can sort of hear that deep authoritative voice maybe having a moment though, every now and then. Yeah. Yeah. Do you have particular rituals that kind of help you separate one project or another, or can you kind of just, okay, minimize that screen and now we're over to this?
Um, Writing comics is all kind of a piece for me. I developed a ritual years ago, a Pavlovian conditioning thing. When I start out on a project, I have an oversized sketchbook, and I've filled up I don't know how many of these things. And the first step is I actually draw little rectangles for all of the pages and have this grid.
Nice.
And then I do what I discovered many years later was a very, very rudimentary form of storyboarding. And I go in and write little bitty tiny notes to myself, um, describing each panel,
Hmm.
like break down all the scenes into pages and then the pages into panels. Um, and I have that sitting over to the side, and I can refer to that when I'm writing the actual script. And
Yeah.
so if I don't feel like writing a comic book script at the time, when I get the sketch pad and start drawing little rectangles, by the time I'm done with the first page, I'm in the mood to write a comic book script.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, that's something that you can cultivate if you pick if you like whatever circumstance is easy for you to get into. Um, Sorry, my throat is really dry today.
Oh, that's okay. Be comfortable by all means.
Um,
I have a large glass of water right here as well. It's invisible. Wow. Okay, there it is.
if you have a favorite writing chair
Hmm.
or a favorite writing hat, or if there's a certain scent of candle that you just do that, get yourself into that circumstance, and then write. Just force yourself to write. Doesn't have to be anything good. Just do that. And
Hmm.
the amount of times you have to do that varies from person to person, but eventually the circuit will be formed in your brain and the association will be made concretely. Like, this is the time when we write.
Yep. Yep.
And so if you've had a long day, or you're arguing with a significant other or whatever, and you really don't feel like writing, but you need to write because there's a deadline coming up,
Yeah.
activating that sequence, that ritual, will make your brain say, "Oh, it's time to do this," and then you can do it.
Nice. Nice.
Writing novels is different. I think it was Neil Gaiman who said that every time he writes a novel, he figures out how to write a novel all over again.
Hmm.
And like some writers, like Dean Koontz, picks out an album for each book, and he plays that album nonstop, back to back, for as long as it takes him to write the book.
Hmm. Hmm.
And like I have found that there are two kinds of writers. There's the Dean Koontz kind. He goes into his office every day at 9 and comes out at 6, and he doesn't take lunch, and he's writing that whole time, all the time, every day, writing, 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 draft
Wow.
after draft after draft after draft. And then there are the kind that think about a story for days or weeks or months or however long it takes, just working it in their head and then write it all down in a rush.
Yeah.
I am definitely that second kind of writer.
Yeah. Yeah.
But for novels, a lot of the time I'll change the color of the screen
Hmm.
to something different, pick a different font, change the color of the font against the background, something that gives it like I don't ever listen to music when I write. Sometimes I'll listen to white noise.
Uh-huh.
There's a website called rainymood.com, and
Nice.
it plays the sound of rain. That's all it does. And that works pretty well if there's like construction outside or something. You know,
Hmm.
pop that on and I can write really well with just white noise or rain. But um, yeah, sort of creating a brand new set of circumstances for each novel seems to work. That like lets me approach it fresh.
Hmm. Cool. Very cool. It's always interesting to hear about the process of how ideas become these long form books and then realities. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, well, curious about the things that are next. Is there a project that you would like to take on, being someone who's worked in so many worlds and across so many forms, sort of a dream aspiration?
I have so much going on right now that like I don't really have the time, like the mental bandwidth to try to dream up something, which is not to say that I don't keep having ideas.
Hmm. Hmm.
But right now, I thought I was going to do like keep up the momentum of doing the Runebearer curse over 2 months
Hmm.
and take 3 or 4 months and write 3 books this year. That was my plan. I was going to write um, one original one that my wife and I are collaborating on, and
Nice.
then the sequel to my thriller novel, The Storm, which is long overdue, and then the fourth Demon Sleuth Scrolls book.
Hmm.
Well, toward the end of last year, I got approached by 2 different independent producers who want to try to sell 2 of my properties to Hollywood
Nice.
as TV series. Now that's the everything to do with Hollywood is a long shot,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
so you know it's a process, and it's great because at any step of the process, it can all just go away. But
Right.
one of the things that's necessary there in these deals, at least the kind that I want to do, is that I do a new pilot script. I had pilot scripts written for these 2, but decided that they were not good enough, and so I've got one done,
Hmm.
and I'm almost done with the other one. That's taken up a lot of my creative juices.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have gotten a new job, a contract thing, writing audio dramas for a very, very well known franchise that I can't say anything about. And that's been really cool because I hadn't ever written any audio dramas before.
Hmm. Hmm.
Plus, these are not exactly, I mean, technically they're audio dramas, they're audio comedies.
Oh, wow.
And
Okay.
I'm not known as a comedy writer. I mean, I started out primarily as a horror writer.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
discovering that I can be funny, that I can deliberately be funny and people actually like it, that's been a rewarding phenomenon.
I am sure. Yeah. Yeah.
So there's
Stretching the
that.
muscles.
Yeah. And it's looking like in June, it's likely that I'll get another game job on another very, very well-known franchise that I can't say anything about. So my plans for the 3 novels this year are going to have to get modified. I'm thinking it might be more like one or maybe one and a half.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you know, irons in the fire. That means you know it's a business. That means money is coming in. I'm the audio drama stuff is for a company that I had never worked for before. So I'm very happy to make inroads there,
Hmm.
build some new relationships. Um, so you know, I'm as long as I'm writing something, I'm happy. It's just there's like this constant anxiety kind of hanging around back up here that you know, like you have 3 books to do. You have
Right.
3 books you said you'd finish.
That's the vision board. Yeah. But a good problem to have if you're being invited to these collaborations, and very exciting when people say there's something I'm working on I can't talk about. I always get a little excited about that. I'm like, oh, what could it be? And then I start to imagine.
Well, the audio drama thing, I think, is something that no one would ever have expected me to do.
Nice. Nice.
You hear the very few people out there that make associations with the name Dan Jolley would not make this association. So this is going to be breaking new ground.
Love it. Love it. I love range, and I love when people get to kind of try new things. So looking forward to it when you can talk more about it. And at the beginning of our episode, you mentioned the space where people can go, but if you'd like to tag that back in here as we're closing.
Well, you can learn everything about me by going to my website, which is danjolley.com. And that's DANJOLLEY.com. Um, and I don't think it's in the navigation, but it's danjolly.com/ lookalike dash contest.
Yes,
That's the rules, the setup for the contest at Dragon Con. The page to learn all about the series, the Demon Sleuth Scrolls series, is danjolly.com/ demon sleuth scrolls.
there it is. There it is.
But if you just go to danjolly.com, you can find your way around, and basically everything I've ever done is on there. In fact,
Cool.
GoDaddy has been. I set up the page for the lookalike contest, and GoDaddy popped up a message. You're using a lot of pages on your website here, Dan. Are you sure you need all these pages? Well, yeah, kind of. Yeah, I think I do need
Yeah,
them.
yeah. And may the pages continue, that just means there's more out there and more creating. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Well,
yeah. I'm never going to retire. When you hear about me dying, it's going to be someone's going to find me face down on my keyboard.
yeah. Well, glad to talk with you anytime, and hopefully that day is far, far away, and there are many more books, many more conversations, and lots of creating, and lots of time to recharge in between all these projects too.
That's the hard part.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the hard part. Yeah, have a vacation coming up pretty soon. I work with a lot of British people, and people on the other side of the Atlantic, they get like a month, a
Hmm.
month vacation
Hmm.
standard every year.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I'm American. That's mythical. That's like unheard of, unattainable over here. You're lucky if you get 2 weeks.
Yes, and then you're lucky if you get to retire as well. So, yeah,
But as long as I'm writing, I'm happy.
that's right. That's right. And always looking forward to the things that you're writing on the reader side as well.
Thank you, thank you. Let's see. So yeah, the next thing coming out would be the Runebearer Curse at Dragon Con. I mean, it'll be available everywhere starting that weekend. It maybe even slightly before that, but the official launch will be at Dragon Con.
Cool, cool. Well, wishing you well, wishing you a wonderful show there. And hopefully folks get the message and you see lots of interesting faces for sure.
It'd be great.
Yes. Well, glad to have you back anytime. Always delighted to talk with you. And I always appreciate the creativity and the time.
It's my pleasure. Anytime you want me, I'll be available.
Awesome. Thank you so much.